Here we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back again to another session with Joe Dale. Joe, thank you very much again for this, your contribution to this virtual conference, online conference of presentations I've organised for teachers. This is, as I said, your third one. Your contribution has been much appreciated. Thank you very much.
You're absolutely, oh, sorry. Yes. Okay, I was just going to say you're absolutely welcome. That's it's my absolute pleasure to be here. And today's session is all around podcasting and how we can use podcasting in an educational context for promoting oracy, speaking, listening skills. And in this session, I'm going to be actually trying to create a podcast live. So no pressure at all, but it should be a lot of fun, I think. And I'll show you how simple it is to set up the session. Officially, I'd like to thank Ferdinando for giving me this opportunity to take part in your virtual conference, which is, I think, a perfect thing to do during the pandemic. And I wish everyone the best in relation to the current situation in Victoria and the rising cases. I hope that you're all well and safe and that your families are well and safe. And that's the most important thing. But I really hope that you find this session useful and that it gives you some ideas on how you can keep in touch with your students and how you can create a podcast if you're interested. If you just want to sort of come along and see what it's all about, then that's absolutely fine as well. Now, I presume that everyone knows what a podcast is, but if you don't know what a podcast is, then essentially it's a type of, I suppose, radio show, if you like, or an audio show. It can be video, but normally podcasting is referring to audio. So it's an episodic series. In other words, you produce a number of different episodes in a row. Some podcasts run every week, some of them run for every month or for a series. So you could, for example, choose to make, say, 6 episodes over a certain period, and they're a lot of fun. They can take quite a lot of time to put together, but using the tool we're going to be looking at today, which is called Anchor, is, in my opinion, the easiest way of producing a podcast, because of the fact that it does all the different steps of the podcast. In other words, recording the podcast, editing, although you can use something like Audacity as well to do the editing, and the hosting as well, all for free. So that's absolutely brilliant. Okay, so let's get into it. So as you can see on the screen, my contact details are there. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, if you're not already, I'm just at Joe Dale. My email is joedale@talk21.com. And let's get into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through like a few slides to start off with, and then I'll be sharing my screen, and I will be able to show you all the different ways in which you can put together your podcast. So as you can see, we're going to be looking at how to make a podcast collaboratively, how to ideas on how podcasting can help oracy skills and increase student confidence, and how you can publish your podcast to a real audience as well. So really exciting. And also it can help with writing skills as well, from the point of view that I'd always recommend that you plan the podcast carefully, that you ask the students to write a script. And therefore, if you write that script collaboratively using, say, Google Docs or class notebook in a Microsoft environment, then that's a lovely way to be able to pull together a lovely script for you to then record. Okay. As per normal, you can ask me any questions that you want during the session. The chat's going to be open the whole time. It's helpful for me if you put a Q in front of your question, as per normal, and we'll go from there. So why podcast? Now, this is my friend Rachel Smith, who is an Apple Distinguished Educator. She's also in charge of digital learning at her school. She's also a lovely person, which is the most important thing. And she has been running a podcasting club which I'll talk more about in a moment. But here are some of the reasons why she thinks podcasting is a good idea. So you can see, for example, it's a great way to improve oracy skills. So in other words, that whole recording and editing process, the way that you need to repeat the same language over and over again, is a really great way, in my opinion, to be able to embed ideas into your head from the student point of view, and to give students confidence. So any tool that allows you to record audio and allows you to repeat practicing and that rehearsing stage, I think is a great way, generally a great way to improve student confidence. And it's also their world, as it were. They're used to making multimedia content. You normally get the giggle stage to start off with. They normally feel a bit embarrassed to start off with, but once they've broken through that embarrassment or hearing their own voice maybe for the first time, then that they can produce some amazing work, I think. It enables students to learn how to organize, absolutely. So if you're running, say, a podcasting club, then you can have different roles for different students. For example, you can have an interviewer, you can have an editor, you can have someone collecting questions, someone organizing interviews, and so on and so forth. You have a real audience for the work, which is always very motivating. That said, if you preferred, you could record the audio and then you could then upload it into somewhere like Google Drive or into OneDrive. But the idea of podcasting is to have a real audience and to publish the audio so anybody can access it. But I'll talk more about e-safety in a moment, okay? Because obviously that's really important. To learn how to advertise something. So if you're doing a podcast about the school, for example, how to promote the school, raise the status of maybe the languages department, to learn more about your community, because I certainly find that when you're doing a podcast, you'll have people from the community reaching out, which could be your local community or could be an online community, leaving comments or sending messages for you to add into future episodes of the podcast. To represent your community in a positive light, that's really that's a no-brainer, I think, with podcasting. Learn how to work to deadlines, absolutely. Improving writing skills from the point of view of editing your script, and first and foremost, to have fun. So I think they are a lot of fun podcasts, and the idea of this session is to give you an idea on how to put one together yourself. Okay, so let's carry on. Now, Rachel has a podcasting club. I think having a podcasting club is a really good idea. You could record audio in a whole class with, say, 30 students. If you do that, you will have issues with background noise, and there's nothing you can do about that really, unless you ask the students to in turns go outside and record. But in a practical situation, I don't think that probably would work. You'd have to record in the classroom, and if you do that, you will have background noise. But that said, if you are recording with a microphone, or you're recording with a tablet or an iPod Touch, for example, I've got my iPad just here, for example. So if you sort of hold the microphone quite near, it's a good idea to have it under your chin like this, so that you're not picking up like breath sounds. If you have it here, it will sound very breathy, and you'll get what's called pops or plosives, that sort of like sound of the microphone, which would sound terrible. So if you hold it underneath your chin, but nice and close, then it means that you'll get a good sound. And again, it's a good idea to try and train the students on how to get a good sound with the microphone, even if you've got some background noise. If the microphone is quite a long way away and you've got background noise, it makes it very difficult to hear. And also, if the students are speaking very quietly, it'll make it difficult to hear as well. So that's why I think it boosts confidence, because the students realize that they have to project their voice, they have to speak clearly and well, and as a result of that, they'll get a good recording. So it does take a little bit of time, I think, to establish what it is that you need to do. Now, in relation to the different roles, if you're running a club, for example, as I mentioned already, you could have an editor, an interviewer, a presenter working out each episode. You could say meet like once a week, for example, and then plan the contents of the episode. I think having a a podcast plan, like an episode plan for every episode is really, really important. So maybe you could record an introduction with maybe some backing music if you wanted to, which you can do on Anchor, which I'll talk about more in a moment. You can have different musical segues going from one section to another section, but maybe having the same sections each time. So it could be, for example, that the first section of a podcast could be two students introducing the podcast and saying, okay, so in today's podcast, we're going to look at this, 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 and this. You could have maybe the weekly news, what's happening in the school. You could have an interview with a particular member of staff, or in a languages context, you could have a recording practicing a dialogue. And then you could have maybe a weather report, whatever it is that you want to do. But having that consistent plan, I think, is really, really good. So as you can see, what Rachel does is she has her podcast focusing on school life, and she divides it into different sections, some of which I've mentioned just then already. Okay, so for example, school bulletin, so talking about what's happening in the diary and important dates, interviewing a staff member. So this would be, this podcast is done in English, but of course you could think about what would work nicely in a foreign language. So she does a sports report as well, a head of PE interviewing a student on the minibus, which is lovely. So you're going to get that background noise of the minibus traveling along, which I think is lovely. Whenever you record any audio, you've always got to think carefully of the location and the background sounds that you'll get as a result of that. And then wrapping up the episode. So that's what Rachel does. That's great. Okay, let's carry on. Here are some quotes from some of her students, which I think is great. So the first one, I can be a bit disorganized at times. The podcast has helped me to stick to deadlines. He's not the only student that feels like that, I'm sure. I've loved honing my interview technique. I loved interviewing my new head teacher. Absolutely. I think that getting used to interviewing people at a young age, I think, is a really, really good idea and can really help in the students' confidence and their organizational skills, and just asking good questions. And sometimes children can ask better questions than adults, and can take you off your guard, I think. So that's also really, really good. And then they're using GarageBand to edit with, which is an audio workstation for recording and editing sound on a Mac or on an iPad or an iPhone. But you could also use something like Audacity, which works on Mac and on Windows for editing sound as well. So those are a few testimonials from the students, which is nice to see. So here's a few ideas on how you can get started in a languages context. You can think of a theme which would lend itself to a podcasting project, e.g. talking about your school life, your local area, your hobbies in the target language. You can have, as I've mentioned already, a group of students who could be in charge of the editing and the interviewing. I mean, you could do it in a whole class situation. It just would be a bit harder to do it that way, but you certainly could do that. Or maybe have a subject podcast and then asking the students to send in contributions if you wanted. Decide how frequently you would like to publish episodes. This is incredibly important. So if you try to publish an episode, let's say every week, it can become really, difficult and onerous to do that, to do everything in the 1 week. I think what I would do is I would aim to put out an episode every 2 weeks or every month, I think, if you were serious about doing this, because what you can do is you can build up a number of bits of audio as a backup, as it were. So if something comes up in the week, like there's, I don't know, a play rehearsal or whatever it might be, and there are some children who would normally do the podcast who are not available. If you've got a backlog of different interviews that you've done and different things that you can, like evergreen content you can put in whenever you want to, that's something which I found very useful for when I was doing my podcast as well. So that's what I consider. And then you've maybe just got a few bits of audio that you can then record that particular week or month to make it sound nice and fresh. So I would really recommend doing that, and not to make it into like a task which you then find onerous, like every week. I think every week would be a bit demanding, unless it's very short, but it's up to you. Okay. And then create a template. That's also really important. I think once you've decided on the different sections, create a template, which could be, say, Google Doc or a Word document so that you've got, you literally write introduction or news support or the weather forecast or what have you, and then just stick to that structure, because I think listeners like that. They like to know what the structure is, but then of course they like to have new content each time as well. So that's great. And then you can, if you wanted to do like a sort of a musical introduction, then you could use that every single time as well. That's a nice idea. What I do in Audacity is I create a template. So I've got like the musical introduction, and I've got the different musical segues between sections, and then the outro. But with Anchor, you get access to lots of different bits of audio that you can use for free, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So those are a few thoughts. And then in relation particularly to Anchor, you can create a dedicated email for the podcast, which I'm going to go through how to do that in a moment live. But you don't share that email address with the students. So you would just log in to the account. You wouldn't give the email to the students from that point of view. And this is also really important. I wouldn't advise the students saying their full names or saying their names at all, really, and to be careful that they don't, sort of share too much personal information for obvious reasons. So they could sort of, make up characters or make up information. They don't have to. What I wouldn't recommend is they say their name and their age and things like that. So ideally, if they're publishing to a real audience, which is what this is all about, then anybody could be listening to the audio. But I think it's absolutely fine to do that as long as we adhere to certain suggestions, such as keeping it, impersonal, not saying names on the podcast, and so on and so forth. But we can talk about more of that later if you have any more questions about that. I've sort of mentioned this already, but I'll just go through this again. So when you're putting together a podcast, I would encourage the students to write a script, or at least create bullet points to make it sound structured but natural at the same time. When I do my podcast, I find that works really well, rather than writing out a full script, to actually just have bullet points. So I know what it is that I want to say with my co-host, but we're not sort of reading off a script, which can sound unnatural. So it depends. It depends on what you want to do. But those are a few suggestions. I'm going to show you how you can have a voice message with Anchor. What that means is you can give a link to the students, and they can record a message and send it to you. And then you can then save that to your audio library in Anchor. Or you could use a tool. I'll just put this in the chat for you. You could use a tool like Vocaroo, which is very nice, vocaroo.com, which would allow you to ask the students to record some audio without needing a login, send you the link, which could be via email or via a Google form or a Microsoft form. That's really handy to do that. Actually, what you can do is you can just create a short answer option with a box. They then post in the link in the form and send it to you, and then you'll get the form with all the different Vocaroo links. So with an Anchor voice message link, they would need to log in to the Anchor page to be able to send their audio. But I'm going to talk about a Gmail trick that you can do to do that. Or what you could do in a face-to-face classroom is, let's say if you have a number of different iPads and you just log them all in, so they don't need to log in. But Vocaroo may be a better option. So they just record their audio, they send it to you via a link, and then you can then download the audio and upload it to Anchor. Yeah, so, and then you would then record each section, presentation, interview, reflection, what have you, and you are the gatekeeper, the person who is collecting all the recorded audio, and then you can arrange it in Anchor to build an episode, which I'm going to show you live in a moment. Okay, so hopefully that's nice and clear on the structure of how you put this all together. And if we go to the next one, we're now going to sort of look at Anchor in more with more focus. So as you can see, Anchor FM is a completely free podcasting solution. It was acquired by Spotify 2 years ago which means that I would be amazed if it sort of disappears or goes away. The problem with some websites to do with audio, if they make it completely free, then it can be, because obviously there are charges for storing audio on servers, and it can be, in the past, other companies that have done that, they've then either just stopped the service because there are too many people using it and it's become too expensive to pay for the servers, which can be really annoying. But at the same time, nothing's free in a way, in that sense. But Spotify acquired Anchor, and so as a result of that, and I know in the last couple of years they've been really pushing and promoting podcasts. So I think actually it won't be going away at all. So it's a very safe environment, I think, or it's fine, I think, to use Anchor and to expect the audio still to be there, and not to get a message saying we're going to delete everything in the next month or so, because of the fact that it's owned by a big company, and so as a result of that, I think it's a really safe thing to do, and to make sure that your audio is fine. So that's really reassuring. That so it's a bit like the equivalent of YouTube, but for audio, which is just great. And as you can see, you can do the three main sections. You can record, you can edit, and you can host your podcast. And if you want to, which I'll show you how to do as well in a moment, you can send out your podcast to all the major directories, such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and other places. So there we are. So that's Anchor. That's what the website's all about. They've had a recent update as well. So you'll see that the icon is no longer this sort of like nice anchor. It's more like a little squiggle. I prefer the original image, but never mind. And so in this practical session, which I'm about to start, I'm going to show you how you can make your account, how you can record an introduction. I'll show you how the voice message feature works, how you can record your audio and send it to me via the voice message link, and then how to build the episode. So no pressure, but hopefully this will all work fine. And let's go on to the next one. So let's make a start. So this is the first page that you would see. I'm not going to go through the rest of the presentation now, because what I've actually done is I've done screenshots of the whole process that I did for a school in Switzerland a couple of months ago. In March of this year. So as I did with them, I'd sort of had this as a backup, as it were, but I'm actually going to do this live right now. So what I'm going to do, so in other words, you've got the step-by-step. Let me just give you a quick flavor of what I mean by that. If I go through now, I've got the step-by-step, as you can see, guide, but I'm not actually going to go through the slides like this. I'm actually going to do it live with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on new share, and I'm going to choose my iPhone and iPad option. So with Anchor, it works on all devices. So it allows you to record and edit on iPad, iPhone, Android, or on the desktop. So I'm just bringing this up now. There we are. So you should be able to see my iPad screen now. So what I'm going to do, I'll just move my keyboard out of the way, so I've got a bit more space, and I'm going to just go through this live with you. Okay, so the first thing that you do, this is the home page, as you can see in the app, and the process is very similar on the desktop, but I thought I'd show you the mobile version of doing this. So the first thing you do, as you can see, it says sign up with Apple, sign up with email instead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on the sign up with email instead, and this is where you have to create an account. Okay. So I'll put my name in. So I'm just going to write in Joe Dale, but in a real situation, I would write Mr. Dale for obvious reasons. And then here where it says email, I'm going to show you a little trick that you can do with Gmail, which is the following. So my Gmail address is joedale100@gmail.com. Right now, if I want to create an email which is associated with my main account, what I can do is the following. If I put the cursor after, in this case, the 100, in other words, the username before the @ sign, and I put in the plus symbol, and then I add something, which in this case, I'm going to put in Varty like that. Then what that means is I can use that email to sign in and create a new account. But any notification emails that I get from Anchor will go to my main joedale100@gmail.com. So that's a really handy trick that you can use you can use that with your students as well. Because what I'm going to do in a moment when I create the second email address so the students can then send me audio is you can actually add anything you want after the plus icon. So I'm going to write, for example, joedale100 plus Varty student, but it means that the students won't get any emails. Everything will go to my inbox. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a really nice little Gmail trick that allows you as the teacher to organize the all the information, and it means that the students do not need to have an email address to sign into this sort of thing when they really don't need to do that. Now, in relation to the password, I'm just going to put the password in now. So I'm just going to write in password, which obviously I wouldn't normally recommend, but just for this example here, as we're recording this and what have you, let's see if that works, if they accept that as a password. Yay, great. Okay, so we've made an account. So it says, what updates on our newest features? So I'm going to say no thanks to that. Okay, so this is what we want. So as you can see now, it says, what brings you to Anchor? I want to make a new podcast. Tell me more about podcasting. So you tap on, I want to make a new podcast. So we've done that. And then it says, do you want notifications? And I would say not right now. So I tap not right now. And then here we are with the main interface that you have. Okay. So you can see it's very straightforward. Top left, you've got different options. If we start off just by me going through each option here, you've got the record option. So you can record your audio, which I'll do in a moment, directly into the microphone, and it will then record that audio. It will go into the episode builder section. If I then tap on the one on the left-hand side, the purple one, it says record with friends. This is a lot of fun because what you can do is, and I'll demonstrate this live in a moment, that might be the bit that goes wrong. We'll see how we get on. But what you can do is you can tap on get started. It generates a link. You then give the link to somebody else, which obviously could be anyone in the world. And then in real time, you can then have a synchronous conversation, and it can be recorded. And then you can then add that into your episode. So that can be really brilliant if you have, let's say, a student who wants to record an interview with you in a remote context, then that would work. Or if you had a friend that lived in another country that speaks the language that you're teaching, in this case Italian, then you could have an interview. Let's say the day before, add it into the podcast, and it's there live. So. Okay, so Pierina, you can't hear me. Okay, can I just clarify? Can everyone hear me? Okay, yeah, everyone can hear me. Okay, so okay, that's fine. So I'm not sure what your issue is, unless are you using? Let's think. Are you using the Zoom client, the desktop client? What I would do is I would just bottom left. It has like your headphone icon. Or your audio settings, you go into that and just test it to see if you can hear it okay. Or you can try pulling out the headphone jack and putting it back in if you're wearing headphones, and going from there. Just see how you get on. But I would try that, and hopefully that will be all right. You'll be able to watch the recording anyway if that doesn't work. Okay. So as I was saying, the record with friends allows you to have a two-way conversation with someone, record it, and then put it into your podcast. The library, that's where all the audio is stored. My audio is empty. My audio library is empty because I've just made a new account. But if I was using my sort of standard account, then I would have lots of lovely audio in there. On the next one, the music option, I wouldn't actually bother with this because to listen to the music, you'd have to have. You could only do that on Anchor itself. If you're going to push out the podcast to lots of different places, the music would not be included. So I would leave that personally. So the next thing is you've got the voice messages. As you can see here, it says share voice message link, but we need to publish the episode first for that to work. But that's where you get the voice message link. The next one is you've got these little interludes. Let me just give you a flavor of how this works. There we are. So a nice little sort of segue from one section to the next. Hopefully you can hear that okay. Here's another one. Okay, and then another one. There we are. So you can have sort of some background music, and then you can then speak over the top. So you want them to be quite short normally. And then underneath that, you've got the sort of the little segue sounds or sound effects. So here, for example, let me give you a flavor of some of these. And then this one. And then this one. And then. So you get the idea. But what's really important to say at this point is, if you use any music in your podcast, it has to be royalty free. You can't just, use your favorite pop sound, as it were, because you'll be breaking copyright. And obviously that's a really major thing. So what some people do is they just don't have any music at all. They just have the spoken voice, which is fine. But if you want to have music using the audio, the sounds and the music in Anchor, they're all royalty free. So you can use them as much as you want to, but that's really, really important to do that. So that's the interface for creating your audio. And then at the bottom there, as you can see, you've got the microphone saying create, and underneath that it says profile. Let's just tap on profile. Oh yeah, that's something I've forgotten to say. That's right. So in my, as you can see, top left there, it says before you can publish any episodes, you'll need to verify your email address with Anchor. So what I'm going to do now is on my other screen, while I'm still talking, I'm going to log into my Gmail address and just approve that account rather than showing you my Gmail, if that's okay. So I'm just going to quickly do that now while we're waiting. Right. So here we are. I've got an email saying confirm your email address with Anchor, and it says to get started on Anchor, please verify your email address by clicking here. So I'm doing that right now, and that's fine. That's now coming up, and it should now tell me in a moment. Yes, that's all good. That should now work. Cool. So you have to remember to do that as the teacher when you're setting up your account. Okay, so let's make a start. So now in this interface here, you've got, for example, episodes there. If you tap on the episodes option, you've got activity. So that will be telling you all the different things you've been doing. You've got account settings. So you can see here, it says update your photo. So if you want to have a photo connected with the podcast, and that's brilliant. I'll go into more detail on how to do that. The email address I've created already. And then this is incredibly important, this bit, your custom URL. So as you can see here, it says anchor.fm/Joe-Dale0. So they have sort of decided on making up this custom URL for you. But what you can do is, I think, let me just double check. I think you can change that. Yes, you can. Can you see? I'm now getting rid of that, and I'm going to do something else with that. So I'm going to put in VYOD podcast, and that should be available. Let's just wait and see. I think that should be fine. And then you can put a website in, but you don't have to do that. And that's all good. And then you tap save top right here, and it is available. So now the link's going to be anchor.fm/VYOD podcast. Now, if you were to go to that link right now, I think it will say currently unavailable. It's not, because we've not published an episode yet, so that won't work yet. But we've got our URL, so we need to remember that VYOD podcast, anchor.fm VYOD podcast. Right. So then I tap on podcast settings. We haven't set up the podcast yet because we haven't recorded anything yet, so we have to do that later. And then the analytics will tell you how many listeners you've had and from which part of the the world people have been listening. So that's also very motivating for young people to see they have got a real audience in the way that I've talked about already. Okay, so if I now tap back on the create button, bottom left, and tap on the record button, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to record a little introduction. So to do that, I'm going to position my iPad like this, so I get a nice sound, and then I'm going to record something. So normally I would say, write a script or think about what I want to say. So in this case, I'm going to say something like, welcome to the VARTI podcast, or the inaugural, or the first episode of the VARTI podcast on the 30th of August, 2021. So here we go. Welcome everybody to the first episode of the VARTI podcast on the 30th of August, 2021. Okay, so I've just done that. That's recorded. If I wanted to, I could add some background music, but I'm not going to do that for the introduction. I'm just going to have my voice. And then here you can see that at the bottom left there, it gives me two options. It gives me the option to trim or the option just to save. So if I'm happy with what I've done, I can just tap save. But I'm just going to show you the trim option. So if you tap on the trim option, what happens is you get a waveform, which you would be used to seeing if you've been using tools like Audacity or GarageBand. And what's quite nice about this is it means you can now move the start point to where you want it to start. You can see there that I've got a couple of sounds there. That's probably what's called a lip smack, which is when your mouth, your two lips smack together, which makes that sort of little spike there. And then that little bump after that, that will be my intake of breath before I start speaking. And then likewise, about 3/4 of the way in, we have this little sound, which probably is breathing as well. And that's all good. So that looks like a healthy waveform. And then at the end, I'm going to move the playhead there. So we've now got a really nice looking waveform. So there we are. If I now tap save and trim, and then I tap the save button like that. Perfect. We've done our first section. Right. Now, here it says add to episode. So you need to put in the name of that segment. So I'm going to just call this intro. Then I tap add recording to episode like this. Okay. It says ready to publish this episode, not yet, because we're going to add some more content. So I tap not yet. And then here is my intro, which is just processing right now. And there it is. So let's have a quick listen and see if it sounds okay. So welcome everybody to the first episode of the VARTI podcast on the 30th of August, 2021. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense so far with everyone. Can I just see if anyone has any questions so far about anything that I've talked about, or particularly the sort of the practical elements of using Anchor? If you have any questions, put them in the chat, and then we can then go from there. But hopefully that's nice and simple so far with the introduction. Okay, well, I'll carry on, and then if you have any questions, feel free to pop them there, and I can then deal with them there and then. Okay, so we've done a little introduction. Why don't we have some music now, like a little segue? So I'm going to tap on the sound effects option on the left-hand side, and I'm going to choose something which will play between the sections before I record the second section. So let's have a listen to. Let's have a look. This one's called Popcorn. Okay, that's quite fun. So I'm going to choose the popcorn option. So what I then do is you can see to the right of each of those little bits of audio, you've got a plus icon. So I'm going to tap the plus icon, and now the popcorn little bit of audio is now there. Another nice thing about using the episode builder, which you can do in the desktop version as well, is you can actually change the order. So to do that, can you see what I'm doing? I'm just changing the order. So you can record the little sections, and then you can then drop them into place, and you've got the audio sorted out in the order that you would then like. So the next thing we can then do is we then, we then say we need to introduce the next section. So I'm going to record my voice again. So I'm going to tap create again like this, and then let's have a think. Right. So I'm going to now record something like, and in today's episode, we're looking at the power of educational podcasting and how it can promote oracy. So here we go. Hi, everyone. So in today's section, right, so that was wrong. I didn't like that. So I'm going to start again. So I'm not going to save it. I'm going to press X, delete recording. There we are. And I'll do it again. And that's very typical of making, mistakes, or just recording it multiple times until you get it exactly right. Here we go. So in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the power of educational podcasting and how it can be used to promote oracy, in other words, listening and speaking skills. And we're going to be focusing particularly on how podcasting can help language learning and language teaching as well. Okay, so I've just done that now. See, that's interesting. On my screen, it's showing something a little bit different to what you're seeing, but that's fine. I think what I might do is do a new share. So I click new share, choose the iPhone, iPad again. No, I'm going to stop mirroring. Just give me a second, because it's not showing what I need it to show. So I'll do that again, share. And what are we doing? Hang on, I'm going to stop sharing just for a second. There we are. And I'm going to share again and share. So the reason I'm doing this is because when I was, what I had on my iPad screen was not the same as what you had on your screen. So I didn't want it to not be all synced together. So that's fine now. We're now seeing, there we are. We're seeing what you're seeing, what I'm seeing. So that's perfect. Right. So now I can press play and just make sure I'm happy with what I've just done. Here we are. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the power of educational podcast. There we are. That was quite quiet, but I think it should be fine in the final thing. So if I now tap add background music, so if I want to add background music to my little bit of audio there, as you can see, we've got some music here. Let's find something which will work. Let's have a listen to this one. It's interesting. I can't actually hear the audio, but never mind. Okay, I think we'll just leave that. We'll just leave that as it is then. If I can't hear it properly, it won't work. But what would normally happen is you would click add background music, you'd add the music, and then that would play while you're speaking, which can sound very nice as well. So that's the beauty of doing things live. But we're all good. So then I tap save, right? This is then the next bit. So let me put in the next title. So we'll go for intro to podcasting, tap add recording to episode. There we are. And that's now appearing here. Okay, so you can see how I'm building up the different elements. So we'll just wait for that to process, and then I'll have another go at playing that. Let's have a go now. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the power of educational podcasting and how it can be used to promote oracy, in other words, listening and speaking skills. And we're going to be focusing particularly on how podcasting can help language learning and language teaching as well. Okay, so that's fine. I'm very happy with that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to tap save, and I'm going to tap publish. We're going to keep on adding to the episode, but I just want to be able to, once you've published the episode, it means I can then send you the link for the voice messages, which is what I would love some of you to do, to record some audio for me, which I can then add into the episode. So to do that, I tap publish, and it says verify your email address, which I have done. Before you can publish it, you'll need to verify. Just click the link in the email we sent. So I've done that, so that should work. Unless that's interesting. Okay, so right, I will just try that again because it's saying that I haven't verified it, but I have. I know what I'll do is I'll do it on the same device. So again, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a second, if that's okay, and then I'll just go into my email, and just check. There we are. So I'm doing the same thing as before, but maybe if it's on the same device, it'll be slightly different. So I'm just verifying my email address. There we are. And I'm just going to log in with the same message. Let's have a look. So, right. So let me just log in now. Jodale 100, and then put in the plus icon, which is here, and then put in Varty at gmail.com, and then my password, and then tap login. There we are. And then, yeah, email verified, continue to dashboard. Phew, right, good. So now when I tap open and I tap, let me share my screen again. So that's now verified. So that should now work, hopefully. So I now go back to here. I tap share screen, go to the iPhone, iPad, tap share. So it takes a little bit of time to set it up, but once it's set up, it's then all done for you. So it means that you only have to do this once. So that's fine. So there we are. You should be able to see my screen now. Yep. And then I tap publish. Got it. Okay. So I'm gonna log out then. It doesn't want to do this right for some reason. So I'll log out and I'll log back in again. So I tap login now, top right, and I'll put in the same as before. So I have had the message that it's all verified, but there we are. So then let's put Varty in again at gmail.com, and then the password, and then not right now, and then publish. Whee, brilliant, we got there. So the most important thing is to always be calm and not to worry too much. So I'm really delighted I got there, and it's all being recorded so you can see exactly what it is that you need to do. So it's very important. You have to click on the email that you receive in order to enable the account. Brilliant. Okay. So as you can see here, it's asking me to publish the episode. So I'm going to tap on episode title, and I'm going to call it something original like episode 1. And put a dash, and then we'll say educational podcasting, for example. Episode description: in this episode, comma, we talk about the power of educational podcasting to improve oracy skills. Oh, interesting. It's changed oracy to O'Grady. Right, let's do that again. Oracy skills. Perfect. Right. Right. This next idea is to customize your cover art. So we haven't done any cover art yet. So what we can do is I can tap on here. I just tapped on the square there, and it says take photo, choose existing photo, cancel. So we are going to do the cover art, but I'm going to do it in a slightly different way in a moment. So I'm going to just tap publish now. And you can see that the anchor profile URL is there, which is what we wanted. And now I need to come up with the podcast name. So the podcast name is going to be Varty Podcast, like that. So for the podcast name, you don't need to have, so you can have gaps, as it were. But obviously you can't have a gap in the URL. So it's important to think carefully about what you want to call your podcast. Let me just double check that's okay. So your podcast name is how people find your podcast, both on Anchor and other platforms. So that's all fine with that. So I would recommend thinking carefully about the name, because it's not something that you want to then change once you're up and running. And then it says use this name and URL. So I tap yes. And then podcast description. So I could then say a podcast about the use of educational technology to enhance teaching and learning. Okay, so again, you need to think carefully about the podcast description, how you want to describe your podcast, and then tap use this description. You can always go back and change the things like the description, but I think the name, you don't really want to change. You want to keep it as it is to make it simple. Right, then you tap use this description. Then this is when we can do our cover art. This is quite fun. So you can see here, it says search for a photo, upload an image, choose one for me. So I'm going to tap choose one for me. And then here we are. So it says pinch to zoom and crop. You'll be able to add text in the next step. So let's say I don't like that image. If I go back a second, I can tap search for a photo instead. Oh, that's much better. Okay, so now we've got all these different pictures, which we can choose. Personally, I think it's better to go for one which is not too busy, which is easy to see. Let's have a look. There was one at the top here, which I thought was good. So I think, I think I might go for this one, the one with the sort of the chain display. If I tap that one, so that's nice and light. So it means that for the text option, I can then make it dark and you get a nice contrast. So it'll be nice and easy to see. So I now tap continue. Okay, and then here you can see that it says apply text, and it says that's fine. So I need to add the text now. So to do that, that's interesting. It's not actually letting me. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Right, yeah. So can you see it's in white? The writing's in white. VYOD Podcast. If I tap on the switch there, you then can't see it. So now what I want is I want to change the color. So let's go for, say, black. That's nice and easy to see now. So having tapped that, we now have to choose the font. So I'm going to go for, let's have a look. What does that one look like? Just wait for it to update. Yeah, let's go for that. Okay. So obviously you can change the font. You can align it top, center, bottom. I think it looks fine as it is. You can change the color, but I think it's fine for how that looks. And then we tap continue. And then we should then get our lovely cover art appearing now. There we are. If you want to get rid of the little anchor symbol top right, you can do that. So if you tap that, the switch there next to show anchor logo on cover art, then it disappears. So we've only got the image and the text. That's fine. And then you tap continue. Okay, this is also important. Again, you only have to do this once. So it says category, and then you've got different options here. I normally put education. So I'm going to put, let's sort of think, right. So let's tap education. And then for the language, obviously you would, I'm going to put English for now, but obviously if you're recording the whole thing in the target language, you would choose that language. Then I tap next. This is very exciting. Here we are. So now what will happen now is we should be then ready to publish as it's whirring around. Here we are. Okay, now this is also really important. Here it says publish my podcast. What that means is you can automatically send it out to the different places such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. Now you can do that and that's fine. But the issue around doing that is if you published all these different platforms, what Anchor will do, or should I say Spotify, it will not allow you to see all the analytics because it will basically create an email address for you to access, or for you not to be able to access, should I say, all the analytics. So if you're interested in the analytics, in other words, the different places where people have accessed the podcast, how many downloads and things like that, which is really nice to see. You do get that with Anchor, as I mentioned. But if you want all that information from other directories, what I would recommend, and it's a personal choice, is tap on the I'll do this myself advanced bit. And what I've done is I've in the presentation, which I'm going to share with you later on, is it shows you how you can submit your podcast to all these different directories. So if you want it nice and easy, you can just tap publish my podcast. If you want to have control over the information and the directories where you can find the podcast, then I would tap on I'll do this myself. And then it just basically goes, the link I'm going to share with you, it basically goes through how you submit your podcast to the different directories. So that's it's a personal choice, but it's nice that they've made it so it's really easy to publish to all these different directories. But it does mean that then you won't have access to the same analytics as you would if you did it manually. So just for this right now, I'm going to tap I'll do this myself advanced, and it says your podcast is all set up. Okay, got it, which is brilliant. Right, so now if I tap publish, I know I've done that already, and then we tap publish now, and that should have now worked. So let me just see on if I go on the web, if we go to anchor.fm, I'm doing this on my desktop just to see if it works, and then if it does, I'll obviously share my screen. So we've called it the BYOD podcast, and let's see if that's working. So yes, it is. Brilliant. Yes, it is. Okay, that's wonderful. Right. So let me share the screen with you. So if I take that link and I stop sharing for a second, like that, and I just quickly go to the here we are, go to the right page and just close that, paste it in here like that. Yep, that's fine. And then if I then share the screen again like this, share screen, screen one, and share. Okay, so now you can see that here we are, and I'm just going to log in like this. So that's my standard account, so I'm not going to use that one today. I'm going to log in with my new account. So that's the I want the plus icon. There we are, varty@gmail.com, and then put in the password like that, and click login like that. Okay, and there's the, here we are. Perfect. Yeah, can you see? So it says view public sites. Let's just double check this is all fine. So this distribute everywhere, that's the one I decided not to do. I've clicked and I already did this myself. You can have monetization. I don't think, that's not something I would explore personally in a educational context. That all looks good. So now I click view public site. Let's see. Right, so that is working, I think. For some reason, I think it just takes a little bit of time for it to sort of sort itself out. So I'm not sure why we're not seeing the artwork here, but we can see that this is the episode is there, and I can add to that episode as well. So what I'm going to do now, you can see here, it says message. So if I click on message, it says nice try, but you can't send yourself a voice message. That's a good point. But what you'll be able to do is you will be able to do that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this link and I'm going to go to a incognito window in Chrome, because I won't be logged in that way, and show you how this works. So if I go here, there we are. Okay, so now I'm going to this page, but I can now record a voice message. This is what I'll be asking everyone to do in a moment. So this is a really nice way. You just give the link to the students. They can record a voice message, and it will then automatically go into the episode builder. So to do that, I click message like this. I have to allow my microphone like that. I'm choosing my default microphone, so that's fine. And then I click start recording now. So let's imagine I've asked the question, what do you think about the power of educational podcasting? So I'm going to record my answer to that question. I think educational podcasting is very powerful because I think it can improve the speaking and listening skills of students, particularly if they're learning languages. The recording process helps them to remember the content that they've been studying. If they write a script, either individually or in a group, they can improve their writing skills. And of course, when they publish the podcast, they're publishing to a real audience, which is very, very motivating. So I hope that you enjoy this 1-minute recording, and I'm going to stop recording right now. Right, so we've just done that. Then it says preview and send. I'm going to put my name in here, just my first name. Again, nobody's going to see this apart from the person who created the account. So the students could write in their name, or they could write in a nickname, whatever you want to do. I can record again if I wanted to, but I'm happy with what I've done. And then I click send this message like that. Now, this is also really important here. You have to create an account to do this, and you can't use the same account that you used as the teacher. So this is really, really important. So if you prefer for the students to say use something like Vocaroo, then that would mean that they wouldn't need to have an email address. They would just be able to record the audio and then share the link with you however they would want to share it. But with this one, what's nice about this is it means that the audio that's sent automatically appears in your episode builder. I can see I've just got a question here. Are all such recordings limited to 1 minute only? Yes, they are. So the voice message recordings are 1 minute each. If you wanted to record for longer than that, you could use, as I said, say Vocaroo, which can be any length, or they could record some audio on an app, for example, like Voice Record Pro, record the audio and then email it to you, and it can be of any length. But for the voice messages, it can only be up to 1 minute. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in my name. So you do need the students would have to put in a name, but again, what you could do is just put in the same name. So you could ask them to put in, I don't know, say student message, for example, okay? But they do need an email address. So for the email, what I would recommend that you do is the same as what I've been showing you already. So this time I've got joedale100 at Varty, and then I'm going to write the word student. Does that make sense? So that means that they will not get access to any of the notifications or anything like that. It will all go to my inbox, which in this case is joedale100@gmail.com. So it's a little Gmail trick which allows you to add, I've just done that wrong. I can just see, good thing I noticed it. There we are. So instead of the @ sign, it should be the plus sign. So it's your username before the @ sign. You then put the plus icon and then you add something, then the @ sign, then gmail.com. And as a result of doing that, it will then allow you to sign up other students. But in this case, we just want the one account that everyone would then use to send you the voice message. Okay, so from that point of view, I'm now going to write the word password again. I don't want to be sent news about Anchor, and I click sign up. Okay, hopefully that's nice and clear for everyone on how to do that. So you create that account, you give the details to the student, and then as a result of that, or if you're in a face-to-face classroom, you log everyone into on that using that option, and it means that they can then use the voice message option to send you the audio straight away. So let me click sign up, and that should now work. So having clicked sign up, let's see what's going to happen now. So let me just wait. That should have just worked. Just thinking about it. So what should be happening now is I should get access to this account, and I should then be able to send the audio that I just recorded, but I'm not sure what's happening right now, why that hasn't worked. So let me just try that again on my other screen. So just bear with me. Let me just click this again. So message. Oh, that's just starting. Okay. let me just try to do this again. So here we go. So if we're looking at educational podcasting and looking at the power behind that, I would say that educational podcasting is great for promoting speaking listening skills, particularly in the languages classroom, as a way of recording your speaking, publishing to a real audience, and the engagement that can come from doing this particular activity. So I've just clicked stop recording. I'm going to put my name in again. So we'll call it student message, send this message, and then hang on, there we are, and then I'm logging in again, student message. I'm literally just going through the same process again. I'm not exactly sure why it is that hasn't worked, because it should have worked, but never mind. It's all good. So plus Varty student at gmail.com, put in the password and see if it works this time. So now I'm going to click sign up again, and it's doing exactly the same thing. Okay, I'm not sure why that's not working, but I'm sure that maybe it's to do with it takes a little bit of time to process the account or something, but you get the idea on how that would work. But that trick there is really handy. But if you prefer, you could use Vocaroo instead. So in fact, let's try that. Let's try if you send me some audio via Vocaroo, then I can show you how easy it is for us to use that instead as another option, which you may prefer. So I can see I've got a question. If you use the same email with the students, will it say that this email is already being used? It shouldn't, because of the fact that it's slightly different. The email, because I've put the plus Varty student instead of plus Varty, it's a different email. It'll be recognized as a different email address. Therefore, it should be absolutely fine. But if you prefer, you can use Vocaroo. So let's have a go at doing this right now. If I tap Vocaroo and I put that in the chat for you, if you could record, let's say 30 seconds talking about your thoughts on educational podcasting. Let me just demonstrate this live, how it works. And then post the chat. I can then download an example and show you how easy it is for me to upload it into Anchor. So let me show you how this works. So I need to just share my screen with you. So I will just quickly Control-A copy. Let's click on, let's just close that now. But it doesn't want to, okay, I'm not sure why that's not working. So I'm just going to discard the message. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to paste in Vocaroo and show you how to record right now. Here we go. So educational podcasting, in my opinion, educational podcasting is very powerful for promoting speaking listening skills in the languages classroom. The students are recording their contributions. They may be recording on a number of occasions. Each time they do that, their confidence will grow and they'll sound less shy, and they can work out the appropriate volume for their voice. The act of recording allows them to think carefully about what they're saying, which will help them to memorize the audio or the content of the audio, which could be to do with, say, a grammar point or some speaking practice in the target language. And then by publishing to a real audience, that's something which young people find very engaging. So as a result of that, it's a great way, I think, of practicing speaking in a safe, moderated environment. So there we are. Those are my few thoughts. So that was a whole minute nearly. So then you can click save and share. I can click the copy option here, and then I can then paste that in the chat like that. And then in a moment, I can then ask you to do that, to then send me some audio. So let's do that right now. If I just ask you now to click on that first link, just the vocaroo.com link, and to record for me 30 seconds or so of your thoughts, and then I can just take one of those links. If you post the link in the chat, as I've just shown you, I can then upload that into Anchor, and I can publish it, if that's okay. So I'll just give you a moment now to do that. In fact, I'll stop the recording just for a second, so we're not just listening to silence. There we are. And then in the next 30 seconds or so, minute, you could record something for me, post the link in the chat, and then I just need one example, and I can then add it to the podcast. Okay, over to you. Okay, fantastic. So now we are carrying on with the recording. I can see that Lee has sent me some audio, which is great. So I'm just going to click on that right now. I'm going to copy the link. There we are on the screen that you can see. So here we are, and there it is. Right, so enter. So let's have a listen back and see what we can hear.
Podcasting. It's almost limitless what students can do with it. It opens up creativity and it brings forward management skills. So please introduce it to your students as soon as you can.
That's superb, absolutely superb. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the download link like this, and I'm going to, let's call it VYOD Podcast, just to make it really easy to find. And then I click save. Excellent. And now I go back to Anchor, and I need to now, in fact, let me go, because I'm obviously, this is the incognito page. Let me go back to the page when I'm logged in. So I'm now, I'm logged in, and I can go back to dashboard like this. So now I'm in the web version of the of Anchor, like that. And then I click on episodes, and we'll click here on the 3 dots, and the episode, let's go to view episode details. There we are. And I've just got to remember how, there we are, edit audio, I think it is. Let's click edit audio. There we are, perfect. So now I've got the episode builder again here. And what I have to do is I need to, can you see it says here, click to upload or drag files here. So what I need to do now is I need to click here, and I need to search for VYOD Podcast, which is here, and click open. That's now uploading, which is fantastic. And then I just need to put this into the right space. So this is actually really nice. So it means I can show you now how you can use the app version and the web version in conjunction with each other. So that's now in the wrong place. So I now need to move that to here. And I need to remind myself what I said before. So here's the intro to podcasting. Let's have a listen. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the power of educational podcasting and how it can be used to promote oracy, in other words, listening and speaking skills. And we're going to be focusing particularly on how podcasting can help language learning and language teaching as well. Okay, that's perfect. So now
Podcasting.
So now we have Lee's contribution there, but we need to record a little segue. So to do that, we'll click the record option. Okay, and then that's my microphone set up, so that's cool. And let's record now. Here we go. So Lee got in contact with us this week to give her impressions on the power of educational podcasting. Let's have a listen to see what she said. Okay, so there's my audio there. And I can click on the little, let's see if I can edit that. Yeah, I can, it's just processing now, but I should be able to change the name of that if I wanted to say introduction to Lee. Can you see that? So if I can then call that intro to Lee, so everything's nice and clear, and then I now need to change the order. But first of all, I need to add that in. There we are. There it is. And then I need to move that to there. Yeah, can everyone see how it all works, how you build up the episode? Okay, now we've only got a few minutes to go, but I think that should be enough time. Let me just click save episode to show you how to do the record with friends option. So let me share again. New share, iPhone share. Okay, and I'll just click on here, screen mirroring, Zoom. Let's see if this works. Okay, so you can now see my screen. Right, okay, this may not work, but let's just go for it. Okay, I'm hoping that someone has downloaded the Anchor app, because that's what we'll need here. So I will tap on the record with friends option and I tap get started. Okay, now here it says invite friends. So I tap invite friends and it says copy link like that. So what I need to do is I then need to put that link in the chat. So to make it nice and easy for me, let's just come out of this for a second. If I go to, let's have a think. If I go to here and go to is.gd, is.gd, which is a URL shortener. I paste in the link, which is there, and I'll call it BYOD Podcast, like that, and tap shorten. Perfect. Okay, so now I'll put this in the chat for you. So it's https://is.gd/BYOD Podcast. And then I press enter. Okay, so let's come out of this now and go back to here. So if someone who has the Anchor app could click on that link or copy that. Oh, I could just see I've made a mistake. Sorry, the link should be https://is.gd/BYOD Podcast. There we are. If you could, if you have the app installed and you click on that link, or you post that link into the into Safari or into Chrome on your device, be it an iPad, an iPhone, or an Android device. And what should happen in a moment is I should be able to then record my a conversation with whoever joins this. We've only got a few minutes to go, so it'd be lovely if someone could give this a go, and then I can show you how easy it is for it to work. No pressure. Let's see if anyone wants to give it a go. If you have a device, Lee, a phone or a tablet, that would be great. So once someone joins that link with the Anchor app, you don't need to have an account, you just need to have the Anchor app. It should then work. If you're trying it and it's not working, let me know in the chat. But that's the process. Okay, don't worry, Lee. That's fine. Can anyone let me know in the chat if anyone has got the app? You don't need to join Anchor. You just need the app. But don't worry if not. We can just carry on. But as long as you understand the process, what would happen is I would be able to record my conversation with whoever joins. That recording will then appear in the media library, the audio library, and I can then drag and drop that into a presentation, into the episode, as it were. So I'm presuming nobody's got the app, or can you just let me know if someone has got the app and is trying to give this a go? Because I'm more than happy to wait another few seconds. But if not, we can just carry on. It's not the end of the world. It's fine. Okay, I think we'll carry on then. That's fine. So let me think. So we've got, let me just click cancel then. Okay, and let's go to, I'll go back to the desktop version now then. So if I do new share and I go back to screen 1 and click share, there we are. And then if we go back to here and edit audio, and then we'll be able to see, there we are. So we've got our introduction, we've got a little musical interlude, we've got my intro to podcasting. We could put another bit of music there. So let's go for, what's this one? Oh, that's quite exciting. So let's click on that one. So I've just added that. That's now there, and I want to put that there. So we've got that there. That's fine. Let's have a quick listen to this.
Podcasting.
Yeah, I love that. That's brilliant. Okay, so and then let's just have another quick bit of audio here. Let's go for that. Why not? So that's there. And then let's finish off by recording the outro, as it were. So I'm going to record the outro right now. I hope you've enjoyed listening to episode 1 of the VYOD podcast, all around educational podcasting. It's been great fun to record for you and to have some insight about the podcast. If you'd like to send us a message, feel free to do so. You can either record an audio message for us using the voice message option in Anchor. You could record some audio on a mobile device as an MP3 file and email it to the podcast, however you'd like to do, or feel free to tweet us on Twitter as well at our dedicated Twitter account called VYOD Podcast, which is not a real one, but I'm just making up for this podcast example. Thanks ever so much for listening, everyone, and I look forward to connecting with you again for episode 2 in a week's time. Bye for now. So you get the idea. That's just my little outro. So that's now going to upload. So once we've done that, it will allow me to then add it to the sentence to the episode builder. It's still processing. I could rename it as outro podcast, but we don't need to do that now. You can see how it works. So yeah, there we are. I click the plus icon and there it is, and that's fine. And then we'll add a bit more music. So we had the popcorn music there. We'll just add that again. So we'll go back to transitions and we'll go for popcorn. Or that was under, maybe that was under, no, it was, hang on, popcorn. So look, or maybe I can copy that. So look, click on the 3 dots. No, not that one. I was just trying to remember where I got it from. Okay, never mind. I can't find it right now. So that's fine. So we've done it. I click Save Changes. There we are. So VYOD Podcast, episode 1. That's all good. That's all good. That's all fine. Awesome. And just to finish off with, let me share my iPad screen again. I just want to show you how this works. The distributing the link. There we are. So I tap here. I tap on the screen mirroring option. Oh, let's do that again. It's just coming up now. I think. Let me just try that again. I'll just click New Share again. And there we are. Click Share. The beauty of doing things live. All right, let's stop that for a second. Let's just try again. Screen mirroring. Okay. Right, for some reason it doesn't want to screen mirror, so I will stop that and I will just share back to the desktop instead. So, so we've done it, and then if we want to go here, we can. Oh, that's all fine. Podcast availability. Let me just check on this. Yeah. So this is what I was trying to find. So here I clicked on settings and I clicked on podcast availability. So actually, I'm showing you what I was trying to show you on the iPad, but that's working fine now. So here you click copy, and then that's what you need, the RSS feed, in order to publish your podcast on all the different directories, if that's what you want to do. So we've got our we've got our link there. We've got the RSS feed, and this is where you can submit if you wanted to manually. These are all different places. If you wanted to, you can put them all there. But just to show you that it's working, we've copied the link and we should have our podcast there right now. Let's just see if it's going to work. Again, it can take a little bit of time for it all to appear properly. I'm not sure the artwork hasn't appeared there, but it should do. So let me just click play. Let's see if this is going to work. Welcome everybody to the first episode of the BYOD podcast on the 30th of August, 2021. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the power of educational podcasting and how it can be used to promote oracy, in other words, listening and speaking skills. And we're going to be focusing particularly on how podcasting can help language learning and language teaching as well. Lee got in contact with us this week to give her impressions on the power of educational podcasting. Let's have a listen to see what she said.
Podcasting. It's almost limitless what students can do with it. It opens up creativity and it brings forward management skills. So please introduce it to your students as soon as you can.
Welcome everybody to the first episode of the BYOD podcast. Now, I saw that what happened then, it was you went back to the beginning. Occasionally, it takes a little bit of time to process all the audio. You can see that we've got 2 minutes of audio there. If we were to check this back in say half an hour, it would be absolutely fine. Believe me, I've done this a few times, so I'm not surprised that's done that. So it's all worked fine, and that's brilliant. And just to finish off with, let me just present here, and I will give you the link to the presentation as per normal. So you can see now, if I go through this quickly, you can see I've literally set up the whole process again, step by step. Naming each episode is really important. So this is from a school that I was working with before, the Gymnasien Listel school in Switzerland. So it goes through the whole process. On the iPad version, you go to the profile option. You go to the create option. You click on the voice message option, copy link, and that's how you share the link with your students. That's all fine. That's how that's working. So for the messages, you can only record up to 1 minute, but for everything else, it's unlimited. So that's fine. Yeah, you're seeing all that. This is just what I've been through already, but you can look at the guide. That's all fine. Oh, this is just explaining how to do the record with friends option. That's what that, and it can take a while to render for some reason when you record with someone else. Name your episode, give it a description. I've done all this. There we are. There it is. Oh yeah. So then you click on the profile option if you want to use the iPad version. You click on podcast distribution, as I did with the desktop version, which I showed you, and you can distribute it everywhere. But then you have less control if you do it that way. If you just copy the link, you can then add it to different directories. And this is the article I was mentioning that was written by a guy called Steve Stewart from the States a couple of years ago. And it just goes through the different places where you can publish your podcast, places like Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. And it just goes, it's very straightforward how to submit what's called the RSS feed, which I showed you how to copy a moment ago, to these different directories. So we've done it. Phew, that's brilliant. Okay, so I will put that in the chat for you, the link, if you want to have a look at that presentation. So it's https://is.gd/BYOD August 2021. I think that's right. Let me just, I think August. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, so there we are. Thank you so much, Maria, as well. That's really kind of you. I was a little bit nervous about doing this all live, but it has worked. Apart from there are a couple of glitches, but we've worked through it, and that's a good example, I think, of with educational technology to try and be as calm as possible. But we've got a podcast at the end of it, and hopefully this will give you a good idea. If you wanted to create your own podcast, feel free to do so. If you get stuck with any of this, just send me a message. I've given you my email address already, which I'll remind you of right now, because there are quite a few steps. But in all honesty, once you've set up the podcast and you've chosen the cover art, you've got the name and everything, it's actually really, really simple. All the students would need to do would be either to send you a Vocaroo link, or they can log in the way that I've talked about using that Gmail plus trick, which means that all the messages come to your inbox, not to any of theirs. But you may just prefer Vocaroo, or they could just email you a file, and then you can see how easy it is to literally drag and drop it into the episode and publish it. It's really, really simple. So I would love to hear some examples of podcasts from you. And thank you again so much for all your comments in the chat. And if you want any help with anything to do with educational technology and remote teaching or hybrid teaching or what have you, you know how to find me. And I would love to do a further webinar for your school if you are interested. And of course, this I'm doing with you right now, it would be perfectly appropriate for a cross-curricular session as well. So anyone that would like to have a go at educational podcasting, feel free to share the presentation with them. So thank you so much. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen like this. Oh, thank you so much for your comments. I really appreciate it. That's really lovely. And I'm going to hand back now to Ferdinando. So Ferdinando, if you want to unmute yourself, and if you could wrap up the session, that would be much appreciated. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you everyone for participating. I'll be sending you the evaluation sheet, or the evaluation link again, sorry. So if you want a certificate, you need to fill in the evaluation, okay? Hope you're all well. We're going to be in lockdown for much longer, but we'll try and organise even more of these online sessions to keep you nice and happy and occupied. Thanks a lot, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Those of you, there's also a session on tomorrow night. Those of you who have joined, so we'll see you then. Otherwise, whenever I organise the next ones. Okay, thanks, Joe, for all your efforts.
Thanks ever so much. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.